Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our watercolor workshop. I'm Lorraine Maffa, Programming Coordinator with Loudoun County Public Library. It's our pleasure to host tonight's program. And if you have any questions, as Megha is instructing, please feel free to type them in the chat box, and I'll be happy to relay them to her. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Megha Mehra, an award-winning artist who's going to guide us to paint a fish, colorful fish. Welcome back, Megha.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Lauren, for the introduction. How's everyone's summer going? I hope everybody's enjoying the pool and warm days. I'm excited to be here back after my summer vacation. And why not paint something under the water like this fish? It's very colorful. And I chose this image because I think the colors really resonate with summer. The yellows, the oranges, and a little bit of the purples and pinks, just to give it like a contrast. And I think it's going to be very interesting how to go through this image of painting. But remember, if you find this too complicated, it's okay. We can go step by step. And as we know, this is going to be recorded. So take your time and you can paint it. And most importantly, just enjoy painting. Don't stress too much about the drawing or the colors. Just paint along. And I would love to hear from you. If you have any specific themes or something that you want me to paint, I'll be happy to do it. And we'll see how it goes. So before I start painting, as usual, we need the drawing in place. Everything is in the library website, where you can go to the event page and you will find the link to get the image. You can just transfer the image on the paper and get started. I'll give you about 5-10 minutes to start put the image. Most importantly, if you just draw this fish or this shape, is enough. And these things we can continue to add later. So uh, just start with this area and a few of these shapes here. I'm going to call it shapes and I'll explain why. But just get started with this and then I'll explain the colors and how to approach it. If you have any questions, please ask me or Lauren and we'll be happy to answer. Colors are going to be quite simple, really nice and warm colors and some cool colors for the contrast.
Ellen, if you want, I can unmute you if you have a question. Hold on 1 second. Go ahead, Ellen. Did you have a question?
Hi, thank you so much for doing this for us today. I guess I didn't read anything on the instructions about transferring the image, so I know you said it's easy. I'm just not sure where to get started with transferring the image. This is a new information for me.
No problem, Ellen. Usually, I send the link on the website itself, because people can prepare it and keep the drawing and no, don't fuss about it. But it's okay if you have not done. Like I said, we can just start. I can explain how to go about it because I've already done it. But I can explain how you can start doing shapes in the form of shapes. If you see, this is more like a circle. Okay, so with a little bit of deviation here, it is mostly like a circle. So you can start with this. First start with this. Then you can add almost the semicircle half here. This would give you the second part. Later, you can add these little details to make it look like this is the mouth and the eye. Once you're done with this little shape here, then you can start adding. I can give you an example, like you can start these tentacles, or I don't know what are they called, but just go with the bigger shapes that you can put. You don't have to go with the smaller ones. You can add that later. Just add the bigger ones, and later when we do start painting, you can add these. If you see this, just bigger shapes. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? We can always add it later. Look, I didn't add a lot of it here because I didn't want everyone to be so confused. That's why I left this open. But if you see, this is how it looks. Okay, so I didn't want to complicate. That's why I just added one or two. You can make this of your own. You don't have to copy the image. So I hope that helps a little bit, Ellen. And don't worry, I'll be patient. You can finish the drawing and then we'll start.
Thank you so much. I think I'm good to go. I understand a little better. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah. I'll give everyone a few more minutes to finish their drawing. Take your time. Just a few more minutes and then we'll start about how to paint this whole scene. Okay, I'm going to start explaining a few things before we really dive into the painting. If you're still drawing, continue to draw and don't worry, everything is going to be recorded. If you miss anything, you can go back and listen to it. So something to paint something like this complicated sometimes, but it's not very complicated, but for some people it might look. I really chose this as a little bit of challenge to really understand how colors work, how to look at images, how to really dive into pictures and understand how much to paint to pick and how much paint to actually put it on the paper. So when you look at something like a colored picture, it can feel very overwhelming. Like, I don't know how much color is needed to make this dark, right? So the way I always work is compare it with a black and white picture, because one, it is less distracting and you're only focusing on one thing: how light or how dark is something. Now here, because there's no color, it is you're just thinking in terms of a monotone. If you see, this is so dark, these lines and these areas are so dark, and you can see all these small little shapes, they are light. When you say light, which means we're going to add less paint here and more water. When you come to these really darker areas, we're going to take more paint. So this is how we're going to paint the whole picture. And if you see, I think the darkest area in this whole picture is, I think, the eye or the circle, I would say, or something like these areas, right? You can see this really dark, but I think this really stands out. So I want to make sure when I try to paint this picture as a whole, I want to make sure the darkest comes here. If you put everything dark or everything just light, it will not stand out. The painting will not pop out and everything will look flat. If you really want to look at three-dimensional and realistic painting, you have to make sure about these little things. And this comes with practice and by observation. But like I said, it takes some time to practice these things. So we'll get started with this. The other thing, what I always ask my students to do is always think of shapes. Don't call this a fish. Don't call this as a mouth or eye. Think of it as a simple shape in nature, a circle, a semicircle, a tube, anything that you can call, but they are really simple shapes. That way, the painting becomes very simple and you're not overwhelmed by it. So now we'll start painting. I'll show you what colors I'm using. Colors are quite simple, as I can see. There is yellow. So I have yellow here. I have almost two kinds of yellow. There is pink, because I'm going to mix some light purples here. So I took some pink. I also have a lot of purple. I know probably doesn't look the same on camera. I have a lot of brown. I'll try to make some maroon here, some orange. And I think that should be, it's just mostly reds and orange and just those warm colors. So whatever colors you have, it doesn't matter. You can make this whole fish blue. It's totally fine. Most importantly, think of it of how light or how dark, which means values. These are called as values, lightness or darkness of something. So we're just going to keep things in mind about values. I am going to show you how to just load your brush with some light paint. And you can see that something like this, sorry, if I paint something like this has a lot of water and less paint, something for light areas. When I pick something really dark, I need a lot of dark paint. You can see this is so dark. Okay, this has less water. It has a lot of paint, nice thick paint. So we're going to keep these little things in mind. When I say a light wash, then I'm going to say a lot of water is going to be here. Okay. And just remember to enjoy the whole painting and not worry about how it's going to look. It takes time in watercolors, and also when you finish it, they're going to look more real. Okay, so just keep painting. Don't throw away your painting. Don't trash it. Don't be mad at it. It's just a painting. You can always paint back. So where did we start? I'm going to start on the really lighter areas. Okay, so they can come back and actually paint. Now, if you see, this is really light. Okay, these are really light areas. Okay, even these areas, really light areas. So I'm going to start painting, keeping in mind my black and white picture. Okay. Let's start with some, and I don't know why the camera this time is not showing how I'm actually picking the colors, but I wish I could show you. Maybe I'll show you one. I'm going to pick a little bit of purple here, just to mix it with that pink here, because it's not completely pink, but it has a bit of. Okay. And then I'm going to just paint a few areas here. And remember, we'll have to come back and add more layers, okay? So just be patient, and then we'll try to add more layers when the first layers are dry. That's called glazing, okay? That's important in watercolors to give that realistic luminous effect. Okay, I'm going to take a bit of orange here. While this is already wet, I can see a little bit of reddish orange tinge here. Remember, I'm not really worried too much about what color is there. I'm trying to keep the perspective of the values, how dark or how light it is. If you have any questions, feel free to please interrupt me. It's totally fine. I'll be happy to answer. And also shoot me an email later if you have any questions on the materials used or anything. If you want to send your painting and get a feedback from me, I'll be happy to do that. Okay, this is slightly darker. I'm going to add a little more paint here. Bit of purple, bit of pink. Okay, I'm trying to keep it a little darker here. Just remember, I am looking at the black and white picture to see how dark or light should I go. When I want to go light, I'm just adding more water and less paint. When I need thick paint, I'm going to add a little more paint here and less water. Here again, I'm going to go with a little bit of pink here, and you can see all these layers of colors that it has. Now, if I really have to do this painting in my studio, I'm going to take my sweet time to really go through each layer and paint and let it dry. But right now, since I have to finish this painting, I'm going to go over it while it's already wet. Okay, this is called wet on wet technique, which means when the paint is already wet, I am taking advantage of it and painting on it. So what happens is the colors start to mingle with each other. And that's exactly what I'm looking to do. Again, I'm going to keep his light here. Here, it's a bit of purplish pink, very light. I might have to come back and add some layers, okay? So don't worry about that. Next, I can come here, pick some of that again, purplish, pinkish color. You can mix that already in your palette and keep and just pick from them, from there, and keep adding. Okay. I'm going to keep it really light because remember the adjacent layers are going to be super dark. We don't want you to make it so dark that then we keep adding paint to the other layers. It has to be really light. Okay. Once again, I'm going to just keep moving. And keep adding some layers of paint here. Okay. I'll give everyone a break, a 2 minutes break so that they can catch up. And then I'm going to add more. Okay. I'm going to keep moving now. See? Now, remember I told you not to draw too many details in this because it can completely confuse you. And what you can do is you can just brush, paint around it. Instead of adding so many details, you can just paint around it. That way you won't be confused and you'll just have to paint. You don't have to draw. I think I'm going to pick some bit of an orange here, a little bit just here. Some purple. This part is really dark, so I'm going to keep it dark. Okay. Once again, taking a little bit of pink, moving down here. As I see those colors, I can keep changing those colors because that's not what I am focusing on. It's the values what I'm focusing on. Okay. Feel free to add anything you like. The point is to paint this thing very realistically. Okay. Keep moving here. Same here. Keeping it super light. I'm keeping it super light because I can always go and add some paint. But to remove can be a hassle in watercolors, and some of them are really staining colors. So that's a problem. But I can always add extra paint when it's dried. You can even add a bit of blue here. It's got a bit of bluey tinge here. See? While it is already wet, I'm taking advantage, adding some layers here. Okay. Okay, I'll take a small break so that everybody can catch up to it. Okay. Okay. Next, we're going to paint this large area. But for this, before I start, I'm going to mix some paint on the palette. Okay, I want to keep it ready. I have my yellow. I want a bit of yellow here. You can see yellow. I'm going to pick some orange, which I have here. I'm going to pick some red or pink. This is red and this is pink. And I want to make sure that I have a little bit of extra here because I'm going to paint it together. Okay. Now, before I paint, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, clean my brush completely so that I have a lot of just clean yellow. And I'm going to be a little watery, which means less of paint, because I want to keep it really light. Okay. It's on purpose because I want it to really be light and the rest areas of it be dark. Okay. Just going to take some clean water and push it down.
Everybody doing okay?
So you can see that I'm just bringing down all that yellow. Okay. And then I'll immediately go and pick some orange here. Orangish red, mixing it with a bit of red, because I want this to blend so beautifully right on the paper. While it's wet, I'm going to put a lot of paint here and let it just blend it by itself. I took a bit of pink now, same way. I'm just going to blend it here, adding paint while it's wet so that it works with that wet on wet technique. we do wet on wet technique because when we don't want hard streaks, we want that blended feel. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay, I'll take a little bit of yellow here. This is the little warmer yellow that I've taken. Okay, and I'm just going to let it blend here and let it dry. Now, when this is going to dry, this is going to become a little lighter. So that's how watercolors work. They become a little lighter when they dry, about 6-7%. So sometimes we have to go back and add a coat. Okay. I'll give you guys a 2-minute break and then we'll come to the other darker parts. Okay. And I'm going to just let it dry and not disturb this at all. Just a tiny bit here. I missed this part. Okay. Okay. This is all quite wet. Sometimes I use like a hair dryer to quick dry it. I'm not going to use it now, but we have time, so I'm just going to let it dry for now naturally. And then we'll move on to these parts. As you can see, the colors are just orange and some darker reds and even some brown, I feel. So we can do that, a little bit of brown here. And then we'll come back again, hop on to the other areas to make it pop. The darkest area is that eye or the circle, little circle. So we'll make sure we'll take care of it. But right now, I don't want to disturb anything here. Maybe a slight, I'm just going to remove some color. I think I added a bit of extra here. It's supposed to be yellow, but that's okay. The way you remove color is you dip your brush in clean water, take it out completely, put it on your towel to take out all the water, and then you just gently scrub. Okay. I usually use like a paper towel or napkin. I just don't have it close to me right now, but you just dab it and you remove that color. See, you can see I just scrubbing it gently and the color is out. Okay, we'll just wait for 2 minutes and then move on. Okay, let's go on to this area now. As you can see that this part is super dark. So I'm going to make sure that this is not that dark. And then, you know, there's a lot of variation here. This goes from light and then a little darker. And then this side is really darker. So those are the things we're going to take care. What are the colors we'll use? This is again very reddish orangish, and then we have a lot of purple here, and this side a lot of red, reddish oranges. So it's fine. I'm going to take some orange, red, not too dark. Just continue that bit of red here, reddish orange mixture, because this side is quite orangish. Okay, while it is already wet, I can add the layers here. You can add browns, mixed with a little bit of red. Okay, and on the top, I can do the purple. Even here on the top, purple. While this is wet, I'm going to take some really dark paint, thick, nice dark purple paint, and then put here. Here we can go with the slight design that we have. Okay. So because it was wet, it's just blended so beautifully. It doesn't look like it's on top of it. It's just blended very well. Okay, and now you can see that the painting is starting to come together slightly because now we added the darks. So no painting is complete without the darks. Those darks are very important. Same way, I'm going to take this nice dark bluish purple and add some here. This will give not just the contrast, but a definition to your paintings. So we need those darks. And wherever I can, I'm just going to add those slight darks here. Okay. Even here, just trying to define the painting now, because we're going to add some more lights and I needed to give some boundary before we add a little more color. Again, I'm taking a bit of mixture of bluish purple here because I see a lot of blue here. So you can add that. Also, it will balance the painting because we have a lot of orange. So complementary colors actually balance the painting very well. Oh, I didn't realize this was orange. That's okay. We can go ahead and finish this part. I didn't really see it, but that's okay. So I'm going to take some orange. Just remember, okay, this is not dry. So I'm just going to stop here because it's just blending in. Let it dry and then I'm going to move that area. Next, we can do all these areas here. Put some darks here. Give more definition. Same way, pinking those purples and pinks to put some color here. Taking a really nice dark purplish blend here. Some blue. This needs a bit of pink, so I'm just adding that. Here again, I see a little of red here, so I'm going to take some red and mix with a little bit of purple. Give it a little bit of different blend here. Just adding lots of darks to create that boundary, where to add next, what color to add next. This way you will not get confused. Some people start with their darks first, and that's totally okay. It's just their style of painting. I like to go lighter to dark. It just gives me so much more control of my painting. And I do less mess in that. So I just like it that way. Okay. Now you can see that the shapes have started to form by itself. If I take a bit of pink here with some maybe red or orange, just went a bit, but you can see that the shapes have started to form by itself now. I think some areas are really wet, so I think I should go slow. This is all wet, sorry, dry, so I can go in. This is again a bit dark, so I can go dark. Just adding some light areas here. This is a nice dark area. Kind of reddish, orangish. Okay. Now this is still not dry, so I'm not going to mess it. I'm going to stick to these areas and see what we can add. Okay. Now you can see that all these light and dark areas is what makes those shapes. We need some more here, some more variation here. Right? Remember I told you we have to always go back and keep fixing a certain few things. In watercolors, you cannot just put one splash of paint and you're done. You have to go back and fix a certain things. And that way you'll find a lot of layering here. Glazing, that's what we call. It's a bit wet here, so I'm going to wait. In the meanwhile, we can finish this circle, the eye. And remember, it's dark. So you can pick really a very thick layer of purple or mix your own black, whatever you want to. Usually I refrain from tube blacks because they look very dull. So I'm just going to pick some purple and actually do the eye. You can go slow on this area because it's a very delicate area and you don't want to mess it up. Preferably pick a smaller brush. Small areas, small brush. Large areas, large brush. That's the thing I keep in mind. You can see how dark this is. It is really, I think, the darkest area of all throughout the painting. Okay, so I'll give you guys 2 minutes to really catch up, and then we'll come to the other parts and we'll just finish the mouth and everything. Yeah, we also have these empty areas here. Okay, so we'll continue. While it's still drying, we can finish some of the other areas. This needs to be a little more darker. Okay, and some more areas here. Okay, and a little more fine tuning here to get some shape here. Okay, a little bit of pink here, some definition, some color. Okay, next we'll come here, do those orange areas again, which I forgot. I think it's got a very nice pink purplish area here. Add some purples here. Just keep it dark. If you feel this orange is fading, I'm going to add a little bit of it. Just to keep it fresh. Sometimes you have to add a little bit of warm colors in the end because while mixing, sometimes these colors fade a little bit. So adding a little bit of warmth on top of it keeps it really fresh. Okay, next, I'm just going to fix some of these areas. To make it look really nice. With some dark areas. Okay, let's come here to the mouth area now. And I'm going to just define a little bit of this area with some orange-ish, pinkish color. Just to give it a little bit of definition. Okay. You can see everything else is blended. This has a bit of yellow. Okay. And I think because it dried a little light, I'm going to add a bit of pink here. like I said, we have to always come back and readjust a few layers here. And that's exactly what I'm doing. Just looking at the colors, what I need, adding it as I go. But remember, it has to be dry. Otherwise, it's just going to blend and not look neat. Okay, same here, bit of yellow. Okay. And on this end, it's got this shape here. Okay. You can see that how things are coming together. I think I have to add a little more orange here because it is a bit dull. So I can add that as long as it's dry. A little bit of purple here next to it. Making this dark so that the other areas really stands out. Some more tweakings here with the pinks and purples. Okay. I think that looks good. Then I usually let it dry. Sometimes I come back, add more paint if I want. Like I already see a little bit of yellow is needed here. Okay. Okay. So this is how you approach a painting like this. You have to first define just a few of the layers, and then you can just add paint. Most importantly, I would say think of values and shapes. Don't worry if it's a fish or an elephant or whatever. And go slow with your painting. Take your time, and you'll see that your paintings will improve. You just need a little bit of extra patience and just keep coming back to your image and see how it's looking. Take pictures, come back, and keep tweaking it so that it looks realistic. I hope you enjoyed painting with us today. If you have any questions, please email me. My email is meghawatercolor@gmail.com. And any questions regarding the tools, regarding paper, paint, brushes, or if you want a feedback and you finish the painting, I'll be happy to give you a detailed feedback. Have a great evening, everyone.